Everybody loves to rank the MCU characters off the cool things they do in the movies. The real challenge is to see if we can do it using this. What the hell? Jesus Christ. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Marvel video. In this one, we are going to rank the MCU characters based on their comic feats from weakest to strongest. Now, I know how defensive some people can get when it comes to making a power level list, and this was no easy task for me. It is now Saturday afternoon, and I've been making this list basically using all my free time since Tuesday morning. I've basically spent this whole time rereading comics, scouring through every single respect thread I could find on the internet, and evaluating every single one-on-one fight that could basically possibly happen in this list. But first, let's go over some ground rules. As I just kind of alluded to, this list is going to be based off of the character's ability to fight one-on-one. Some of these characters do better in a team dynamic, some of them are natural leaders, but we're not considering any of that. It is who is the best one-on-one fighter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the second and honestly most important rule that needs to be clarified now is that there's absolutely no classic overpowered versions. That means no classic Doctor Strange that can fight eternity and go back in time. There's no classic Drax that can blow up a planet. There's no classic Mantis that can use a pressure point and knock out Thor. And basically any example that these writers could just say to fit the plot, those examples, they don't really count. Most of that has been retconned. The characters are completely different for the most part, so all that stuff is basically going to get ignored. One more thing I need to add really fast is, this is my opinion. Yes, I put a lot of research into it, but a lot of people, including me, even if I'm watching a good list, if my character is not ranked where I want him to be, I'll be like, this idiot doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? In my opinion, it's okay to disagree. You can disagree in the comments. We could argue about this until we're all blue in the face, but because in some cases these characters can be basically apples to oranges and their entire power level is really subjective and it depends on the situation. On this list, I'm basically going to be using every single hero that was in Infinity War, plus Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Wasp, because they weren't there at the time, and Captain Marvel. I'm adding her in. That makes 30 in total. Let's jump into number 30 and see where this goes. Coming in at number 30, we have Okoye. So Okoye has become significantly more popular after the success of Black Panther. However, in the comics, she has extremely little to go off of. Yeah, she was created in November of 1998. However, since then, she's appeared in only 38 comics. And you know what she's done in those?
Literally nothing.
She has basically no feats. The only thing that we really know about her is that she has the physique of an extremely athletic woman, and that she is an expert when fighting with a vibranium spear. She wears very little armor considering the fact that her head and extremities are exposed, but we do know that she's a good enough fighter to be hand-selected by Black Panther to be part of her elite squad. Coming in at number 29, we have M'Baku. M'Baku is another character that has had a massive spike in popularity after the wild success of Black Panther. In the comics, however, he is a villain known as Man-Ape. Clearly they wanted to take him in a different direction for the movies. But as far as Man-Ape goes, he possesses the strength to be able to lift up to 2 tons, though he occasionally has been able to lift closer to 10 tons. He has superhuman durability and superhuman agility. Unfortunately for him, however, he has very few victories in the comics. He is following the same formula a lot of strong opponents have, where they kind of come out of nowhere, take the hero by surprise, and defeat him, as he defeated Black Panther in their first fight. Unfortunately, since then, to show the progression of the main character, he pretty much gets stomped by Black Panther every single time now. The only things that he's actually done recently is he joined the Masters of Evil, which is a supervillain team, though they got defeated by another supervillain team called the Thunderbolts. He also died and came back to life. Heading over to number 28, we have Nebula. Nebula is another character that just has very little source material. Though she was an extremely vital character in the Infinity Gauntlet series, she was basically a completely different character then. What we do know about modern Nebula is that she's able to lift up to around 25 tons. However, she has virtually no enhanced agility and is only slightly more durable than the average person of her race. This means that she struggles against really anyone with range attacks, or anyone that's durable or fast enough to survive her punches. Basically, after reading all of her most recent appearances, the only time she ever actually does anything impressive is when she's taking somebody by surprise. For example, yes, she delivers a punch to Thanos that's strong enough to make him reel his head back, but he didn't see it coming. She did the same exact thing to Ronan, but right after the punch was delivered, Ronan grabbed her and tossed her away like she was nothing. She even was able to kill Thanos' son Thane. However, all she did was whip out a gun when he wasn't expecting it. It's really like she has no impressive fights. Going to number 27, we have Wong. So let me explain this one quickly. I love Wong as much as the next guy, but he is way stronger in the movies than he is in the comics. So in the movies, Wong is more of like a teacher to Doctor Strange, being like a wise mystic that is accompanying Doctor Strange as he goes along. In the comics, he really is not like that. He's stated himself very recently that he is unschooled in the mystic arts, and he only knows what he has observed or been taught by Doctor Strange. Able to cast the occasional spell, but is mostly just there to help out Doctor Strange. Under these circumstances, Wong would normally be number 30 on this list, but in the last few years he's actually gotten quite the power-up. Wong's actually rather adept at enchantments, being his best school of magic, which has warranted him being one of the many candidates for becoming the new Sorcerer Supreme when Strange lost the title after the events of World War Hulk. Though he wasn't really in the running, considering the Sorcerer Supreme has to defend the world from demons and otherworldly threats that Wong just would not be able to keep up with. However, what Wong really has going for him is that recently he was able to fend off the Hood, who at the time was enhanced by a demon. And thankfully for him, a story that's come out fairly recently called Doctor Strange Damnation, we can see him soloing 3 Hellspawn using just martial arts, which is quite the feat. We also see him able to use his energy shields to take blasts from Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange could have potentially been holding back. It's probably assumable that he wasn't, considering he was possessed by Mephisto. But heading down to number 26, we have Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon is a 55-pound raccoon, but don't let that fool you. Rocket has been able to take out enemies that are several times his size with only his fists. In his standard arsenal, he has rocket boots and a collection of guns that really rivals the Punisher. Being small, however, means that he usually only carries like one big gun, a laser pistol, and maybe a backup gun and some gadgets. He has really no extra durability. He's been thrown around pretty hard, but compared to the rest of the people on this list, he can definitely be taken down much easier. Coming in at number 25, we have Hawkeye. Hawkeye gets slept on constantly. This is probably because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he basically loses every one-on-one fight that he is in. In the comics, he's actually quite the beast. Not only is he the best marksman in the Marvel Universe, but in his quiver he has a plethora of trick arrows for any situation. These include shock arrows, acid arrows, putty arrows, rocket arrows, and there are so many more that we would just be rattling them off for a while. And that's not to say that he's not an expert hand-to-hand combatant. There was a while where he dropped the Hawkeye mantle to take up the Ronin mantle, and in this case he actually used a sword instead of a bow and arrow, and he was very effective in taking down enemies. Here he's able to fend off Bullseye, and yes, Bullseye's wearing Hawkeye's outfit, and Venom while naked, and he has hands tied behind his back. It wasn't until Sentry gave him a nice tap on the chin that he was finally taken out of the fight. He's also 100% accurate with his arrows, and unless he's fighting somebody with abnormally good reaction speed, technology, or durability, which is basically everyone from this point on, he should be able to take him out with relative ease. Coming in at number 24, we have Black Widow. Black Widow is often disregarded in the movies because she's basically just a ninja with some spy technology. In the comics, however, she has her very own version of the super soldier serum, giving her peak female strength. She's able to lift up to 500 pounds, able to sprint up to 30 miles per hour, and has agility beyond any Olympic athlete, and she's able to jump 10 feet in the air. Though she's constantly being compared to Hawkeye, she actually has been able to take him out extremely easily by closing the distance and whacking him around a little bit. She's also an expert marksman. She's been able to actually snipe Hawkeye's bowstring. All this, and she carries technologies such as Widow's Bite, which is a taser that can blast 30,000 volts. For reference, this is what 30,000 volts looks like to an orange. And you can check out the description below for the clip that I just stole. However, it seems like this shock is extremely easy to dodge, considering even an expert marksman like her can never seem to land the hit. Coming in at number 23, we have Falcon. Falcon is way more ruthless in the comics than he is in his movie counterpart. Though he's a base human, rigorous training with Captain America has made him a spectacular fighter and athlete. The newest version of his wings, made for him by Black Panther, allows him to have a wingspan of up to 50 feet using hard light. For hard light, think of Green Lantern. Even with the expanded wingspan retracted to normal size, he can still fly at speeds up to 250 miles per hour. The wings are controlled telepathically using a cybernetic implant. He also has a Wakandan-grade grappling hook along with 360-degree scanners that can detect any movement below him. Falcon is considered to be one of the best and most efficient flyers in all of comics, outperforming the likes of Iron Man and Captain Marvel. Falcon's new armor is also embedded with vibranium mesh. It also is extremely resistant to scratches, and through rigorous training and Wakandan technology, Falcon is able to dive at the 250 mph max speed and hit somebody with full force without being damaged himself. Coming in at number 22, we have Wasp, and Nadia Pym is the comics version of Hope Pym, the Wasp from the movies. She is the stepdaughter of Janet Pym, the original Wasp. From Russian to English, Nadia roughly translates to Hope, so clearly they're intended to be the same. She can shrink the same way that Ant-Man can, but has the added benefit of being able to fly up to 35 miles per hour even when tiny. She has tiny tasers in her gauntlet, however, she lacks in many ways compared to Ant-Man. Both Nadia and even the original Wasp have the ability to grow, but really hate doing so, only using it when they are in dire situation. As I'm going to explain with Ant-Man, these shrinkers have the potential to beat anyone on this list. For example, one time the Avengers were able to beat the Hulk specifically because Janet Pym crawled into his ear and stung his brain. Nadia also has a genius level intellect, but being relatively new to the game, considering her first appearance was in 2016, she really lacks the experience and ability to effectively defeat much stronger enemies the way that Scott Lang can. Coming in at number 21, we have Shuri. What? Shuri's placed this high? Yes. Believe it or not, she was actually the Queen of Wakanda and the official Black Panther for a few years. Though essentially she was just a less powerful version of T'Challa's Black Panther, her powers were completely changed when she died and came back as the Aja Adana, or Aja Adana, or Aja Adana. Listen, don't come at me in the comments saying that, actually it's pronounced Aja Adana, okay? The pages of the comics don't speak to me. But when she was brought back to life, she passed through the planes of memory. Think of that scene in the movie Black Panther when he's talking to his dead father. The spirits of Wakanda passed to her as much powers as they could give her, and now she's able to turn her skin into stone, turn into a large bird or a large flock of birds, gain the speed of a cheetah, or temporarily summon the dead to fight for her. Kicking off the top 20, we have Bucky Barnes. He has his own version of the Super Soldier Serum, and though he already has peak human strength from that, he also has a cybernetic arm, which has superhuman strength, superhuman reflexes, and has a retractable blade. Bucky was trained in hand-to-hand combat for most of his life by Captain America, who's one of the premier martial artists in the Marvel Universe. He has pretty handily defeated Black Widow, and even though she had Captain America's shield, she was not able to overcome him. Bucky has taken up many different mantles over the years, including Captain America for a period of time, though for this list we're using his standard arsenal that is found in the Winter Soldier. In the comic version of the Winter Soldier gear, he has a grappling hook, gas grenades, wall scaling gear, a device that shuts down lasers, holograms, smoke grenades, missile launchers, listening devices, explosive rounds, and a cybernetic domino mask that allows him to map up the environment and targets around him. Not to mention extremely powerful explosive charges that are capable of blowing up a spaceship. At number 19, we have Ant-Man. Ant-Man definitely has the chance to beat anybody on this list. His mastery of being able to instantly switch between being extremely small yet keeping his full mass and being as tall as a skyscraper and able to lift 75 tons makes him an unbelievably underrated character. With the exception of people like Iron Man, Vision, or Black Panther who have extra security in their suit, Scott basically gets a pretty convincing win over any technology user. He can shrink down and ride his little ant over to the opponent, crawl inside of them, and rip the suit apart from the inside, becoming big again and then promptly beating them down. It doesn't just have to be with technology though. He can crawl inside your ear, become big, and basically just explode your head. He's been able to enter people's bloodstreams. Ant-Man also has Pym particles, which give him the ability to change the size of any object to be bigger or smaller. He can use this in creative ways to win many fights. He has once shrunken a monster that is capable of lifting over 100 tons to the size of an ant. He can also telepathically control ants to do his bidding. He once used this ability to turn ants into a giant fist and then pound one of Marvel's best fighters known as Taskmaster. When he's small, he can basically be taken out with one blow, and even as Giant Man, Cap has been able to defeat him. Though granted at the time this was Hank Pym and not Scott Lang, and I do consider Scott Lang to be a better Ant-Man than Hank Pym in a lot of ways. Coming in at number 18, we have Drax the Destroyer. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. If this was the classic version of Drax, he easily would have been in the top 3, maybe even number 1. He was able to destroy planets on a whim, but unfortunately now he's been completely reworked, and now he's just your stereotypical strong, durable, hot-headed warrior. Don't you dare go into the comments and be like, "Oh, Eddie, but he killed Thanos. What about the time that he killed Thanos, man?" Drax was literally engineered to be able to kill Thanos. Not only that, but Drax most certainly did not beat Thanos in a fight. Thanos was preoccupied doing something, and all Drax had to do was break through a barrier and stab him from behind. Though he is able to lift around 50 tons and has an absurd amount of durability, he doesn't use any tactics when he fights other than frontal assault. He is extremely impulsive and makes snappy decisions that could cost him his life, and it takes a while to beat him down, but it's doable. An example of his durability is very recently he was able to take punches from Fin Fang Foom, who has no upper limit to his strength. Granted, this is the same story that Fin Fang Foom was wearing overalls and a straw hat and vowed to live a life on the farm, so I think this whole idea should be taken with a grain of salt. Moving on to number 17, we have Captain America. Captain America is one of the most iconic characters of all time, embodying true bravery, leadership, and loyalty. This guy has more feats than you can count, and with peak human strength under normal circumstances, he can lift 800 pounds, but he's known to lift even more when he's needed. He can jump 20 feet in the air with a running start, and he can run at 30 miles per hour. He's extremely durable. He has enhanced reflexes, and he's known to be one of the best martial artists in all of Marvel. Of course, as you know, he has an indestructible shield that can really only be broken by disintegrating its molecules. The shield isn't only used for defense, of course, it's basically Captain America's main offensive tool. It can be used like an unstoppable boomerang, ricocheting around the room before eventually smacking you upside the head. When throwing his shield, Cap has an understanding of trajectory and ricocheting that rivals the skill of Hawkeye and Cyclops. Captain America has also shown off his incredible fighting skills by defeating the likes of Daredevil in 2 punches. If anything, Cap is known for his incredible ability to defeat people that have way more powers than he does. And thus is the reason why I placed him above Drax. I think that being such a genius tactician, Captain America could easily devise a plan that he could use to defeat Drax in combat. It's also not out of the realm of possibility for him to be able to knock Drax out, considering, as you can see from this image, he was able to easily knock out Nuke, who is bulletproof himself. Coming in at number 16, we have Star-Lord. He's ranked surprisingly high due to his relatively weak power levels in the films, but however, Star-Lord is very powerful when fully equipped in the comics. It's worth noting that in the comics, his father is Jason of Spartax, not Ego. Being half human and half Spartoid, Peter is stronger than the average human being, but the main reason he was ranked this high is because of his element gun. This weapon allows him to harness the powers of the elements, such as air, which can be used to unleash devastating concussive blasts that blow away huge groups of enemies.
But this is all probably a bit over your head. What's that?
Earth, which can be used to instantly solidify somebody in granite, lightning, which he used to one-shot Angela, who, by the way, is Thor's extremely powerful sister, water, which he can use to decimate children in a game of water gun fighting, and most impressively fire, which he can use to blast through the hull of a ship or demolish a group of soldiers with just one shot. He also has jet boots that allow limited flight and levitation, and in addition to this, Peter Quill's armor provides him with a personal energy shield that can be used to weaken blows. Moving on to the upper half of the list, we're kicking it off in number 15 with Groot. For the sake of this list, assume that Groot is at full power and is at his optimal size. For some reason, people just don't understand how powerful Groot is. For someone of his strength, it's true he isn't that durable, considering the fact that he's made out of living wood. That being said, however, he can regrow and sprout new limbs quickly. He's been able to regrow from a stick to full size in just 2 hours. He has successfully been able to get the jump on Thanos and give him a very good beatdown before Thanos is able to break free. Groot is able to expand his body, branching off new limbs to help him. And using additional limbs and leverage, Groot is able to lift well over 100 tons. His stretchiness has been described to be similar to that of Reed Richards, though Groot's strength level is much higher. He can throw around miniature clones of himself that can be used to take out enemies. Groot is also one of the smartest beings in the Marvel Universe, though he is cursed to only be able to say, "I am Groot." Groot can grow to the size of a skyscraper, and it's also worth noting that unfortunately since Groot is made out of wood, he has a weakness to fire. Coming in at number 14 is Mantis. Mantis is an extremely difficult character to place on this list, considering that she is way more of a prominent character during the classic era, when basically everyone was ridiculously strong and writers could just say whatever the hell they wanted. Mantis has actually only appeared in extremely few comics recently, and though you might know her as a silly yet simple alien from the movies, she is a fierce and arrogant warrior in the comics. She bears the title of Celestial Madonna, which basically means that she is the science fiction Virgin Mary. Her list of powers is very impressive, consisting of telepathy, astral projection, chlorokinesis, which means that she can control vegetation in the vicinity. She's actually used this to accelerate the growth of Groot. Pyrokinesis, which she used to once catch Groot on fire. Precognition, which allows her to basically be able to see the future in many different ways. She also has enhanced durability, and with extreme concentration, she also has the ability to heal herself. She's the master of many different styles of martial arts, including knowing every single pressure point on a human. The classic version of Mantis was once able to disable Thor by hitting him with a power point. A power point. Wow, power point. Yep, that's exactly what I meant. A pressure point. But of course, this was back in the heyday of martial art kung fu movies, and like I can't consider this to be a genuine feat. Mantis probably couldn't do this nowadays. And like I was saying, the reason I just can't justify putting Mantis any higher on this list is just simply because of the fact that all of her impressive feats are from at least 16 years ago, but can range all the way back to 50 years ago. Mantis was even able to fight a clone of Thanos. She did not win, granted, but that still was from the year 2002, and many of her powers have been retconned since then. She just simply hasn't used even half of these powers in recent comics that I could find, though she is still clearly a formidable warrior. Coming in at number 13, we have War Machine. War Machine in many ways is just a weaker version of Iron Man. Though he packs a hell of a punch and has a very large arsenal, he's just way less agile. For example, Iron Man's suit is way slimmer. It's optimized and documented to weigh anywhere from 125 to 225 pounds. The suit sits right up against Tony Stark's body and allows him to take pin-sharp turns in the air. War Machine's suit, however, weighs 365 pounds and has massive guns mounted on either shoulder. War Machine's suit is also considerably weaker than Iron Man's, considering that he is only able to lift anywhere from 85 to 100 tons, where Iron Man can lift well over 200 tons in his newest suits. Furthermore, Iron Man has mega powerful repulsors, and yes, while War Machine has repulsors of his own, his main tactics involve shooting rockets and bullets. These are things that a lot of the people that are ranked more powerful than him on this list can deal with relative ease. Not only this, but Rhodes hates the suit. He has developed something known as shell shock, and according to the Marvel Wiki, they have described it as a consequence of many of the experiences Rhodey endured wearing a suit of armor. He has developed a pathological fear of suiting up, and has described that the armor feels like a coffin to him. The last time he wore the War Machine armor, he became agitated and ejected out of the suit as soon as he came under fire. Obviously, this is a big deal. I'm mostly letting it slide, but it is important to keep in mind. Coming in next, we have Black Panther at number 12. Often considered to be Tony Stark's intellect in Captain America's body, Black Panther is a huge opponent to deal with. From his own statement, he is considered to be the 8th smartest person in the world. On another occasion, he has also said that the only person that can keep up with his intelligence is Reed Richards, who is the smartest person in the Marvel Universe. He has equal strength and speed to Captain America, and he's also known for being able to beat people out of his weight class. This includes Namor, somebody who can fly and lift between 75 and 100 tons. A version of Super Skrull, which is a breed of Skrull that has the same weight class as Namor, but can also mimic the powers of several heroes. He's also gotten the Silver Surfer into a chokehold very recently. You may also remember the Black Dwarf, one of the children of Thanos from Infinity War. Yeah, well, Black Panther was able to beat him all by himself in the comics. His acute senses rival those of Daredevil, and his suit is made out of vibranium, so it's resistant to slashes and can redirect kinetic energy back at his opponent. He has a microwave vibranium mesh that removes all momentum from projectiles, causing bullets to fall to the ground. He has disguise technology that can make him look like he's not even wearing a suit or render him completely invisible. His claws are made out of a form of vibranium that he calls anti-metal, as it breaks down material on a molecular level. And yes, that includes Cap's shield. And if you thought that was ridiculous, oh, you just wait. In the last few years, Black Panther has also been crowned the King of the Dead. The Black Panther god granted him the power and knowledge from all the Black Panthers before him. He was already considered to be one of the premier martial artists of all time, and now he's just that much more knowledgeable. It also gives him the power to command the dead and make spiritual weapons appear out of thin air for him to fight with. Just barely not able to crack the top 10 is Spider-Man. It amazes me that people think that Spider-Man has no business being in the top half of this list. Spider-Man is widely regarded to be a street-level hero, but that is because he chooses to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man unless he's needed elsewhere. It also doesn't help that in all of the movies he's shown in, he's a young boy really just starting out as Spider-Man. He lacks a lot of the experience that he carries now in the comics. Spider-Man can lift between 10 and 20 tons depending on the writer, but he's also been able to lift up to 30 when he's being pressed. First of all, basically every fist fight you see him in, he holds back, considering most of the time he would just kill the opponent in a single blow. On top of this, even without the use of webs, he can easily run at the pace of an accelerating car. Using webs to travel across city landscapes, he can travel faster than anyone, with the exception of those that can just fly above the buildings. In addition, Spider-Man has superhuman durability, tanking blows that would normally kill a human with a bit of slight discomfort. One example of this is when he got cracked in the face by Colossus, who had 1/5 of the Phoenix Force embodied within him. If that's not enough, he also has superhuman reflexes, and that's not even considering his spider sense, which is an extra sensory ability that warns him of incoming danger, making it nearly impossible to get the jump on him. Furthermore, Peter has a genius level intellect, being acknowledged by the likes of Reed Richards and Hank Pym as an intellectual peer. Spider-Man has defeated Wolverine, Wolverine's son Daken, the Sinister Six all at the same time, Quicksilver, and a large group of X-Men, and Black Panther. But that brings us to the top 10, and kicking it off we have Quicksilver. Something that may immediately jump out at you is the fact that I literally just said that Spider-Man has beaten Quicksilver. But that was classic Quicksilver. Quicksilver is so much stronger now than he used to be, and that is for sure.
Run.
Quicksilver at the time that he fought Spider-Man could only run at about 700 miles per hour. Recently, Quicksilver actually has received a pretty big buff. Now he can run between Mach 4 and Mach 5, depending on the terrain. That is an average of 3,385 miles per hour, which is nearly 5 times faster than when he fought Spider-Man. So literally, unless you're able to actually react to that speed, or having some sort of super cyber targeting system, or you're just way too durable, there is no way that you can defeat Quicksilver. He is fast enough to dodge one of Thor's lightning bolts, though that doesn't necessarily mean that he's fast enough to dodge something moving at the speed of light. It just means that in the very quick motion that Thor makes before summoning a lightning bolt, Quicksilver was able to recognize that and jump out of the way before he was exploded. Unfortunately for Quicksilver, he has a hard time dealing with somebody who's flying, though he's definitely been able to have wins over them by creating cyclones or pelting them with nearby objects that are flying at thousands of miles per hour. Quicksilver can lift over 1,000 pounds and can withstand the stress of running, going at ridiculously fast speeds and slamming into people at that speed. Honestly, the biggest drawback about Quicksilver is that he is extremely cocky. He often loses a ridiculous amount of fights due to his arrogance because he just frankly doesn't think that his opponent is going to be able to just stick out their hand and clothesline them or react to a lot of the moves he's throwing. Going to number 9, we have Valkyrie. Brunhilde the Valkyrie was hand-selected by Odin to lead the Valkyrie, who's an elite group of female Asgardian warriors. She can lift up to 45 tons, which is considered to be twice the average strength of an Asgardian woman. She has unbelievable stamina, being able to fight for a full 24 hours without getting tired. Being this strong, she's also able to jump extremely high into the air, which she can use to deal with people that can fly. Valkyrie also has a healing factor, which doesn't really matter for this list because for her, broken bones don't heal for several hours. Valkyrie is also armed with an enchanted Asgardian sword known as the Dragon Fang. She's used Dragon Fang to easily deflect or absorb blasts, slice through bulletproof armor, create massive shockwaves, and also go through intangibility. She used this ability when War Machine thought that he can pull a fast one on her, but she just stabbed right through his technology. The biggest downfall for Valkyrie, with all of her strengths, is her speed. Though she's much faster than a normal human, she's not nearly fast enough to keep up with anybody higher than her on this list. I did rank her above Quicksilver though. The reason I did this is because she has an incredible reaction speed, being able to dodge Nova's charges. Nova can fly faster than the speed of light. It's fairly obvious, however, that in this panel he's not moving at that speed, because if that was the case, Valkyrie would be straight up dead. But it is at least assumable that he was moving at the speed that Quicksilver runs at. Therefore, all Valkyrie needs to do is react to Quicksilver one time and create a massive shockwave that would be enough to remove him from the fight. Coming in at number 8 we have Gamora. Gamora is so underpowered in the movies, it's ridiculous. Her title is the deadliest woman in the universe, and she basically lives up to her name, only being rivaled by a couple women in all of Marvel. Gamora is extremely similar to Valkyrie, but better. She's just so much faster. She was able to be evenly matched to Angela, who's Thor's sister. Gamora was also able to defeat the Cancerverse version of Valkyrie in seconds. And why is this? Like I said, it's all about speed. Though she can't sustain running at this speed for a very long period of time, she can move at the speed of sound during combat. She's basically able to just speed blitz enemies, looking like a blur as she slices them apart. And she gets to be ranked well above Quicksilver because she's one of the actual people that can genuinely react to his speed. Gamora is one of the top rated hand-to-hand combatants and is definitely the best swords wielder in my opinion. No matter how hard I looked, I could not find an official number on the amount of weight she's able to press. Some sources like the Marvel Wiki say that she's able to lift around 25 tons, whereas other sources have said that she's able to compete with Iron Man in strength. Either way, it's a ridiculous amount, and if that wasn't enough for you, Gamora has recently taken up the role of a Requiem in the last couple months. What does that mean? It doesn't really matter. What you do need to know about her being Requiem is that she commissioned to get a suit of armor forged by the same dwarves that made the legendary Mjolnir. Yeah, and that's a pretty big deal. So coming in at number 7 we have Vision. Vision, as you know, is a ridiculously strong android crafted by Ultron to be the perfect new body. He can lift up to 50 tons and can control his mass. That means that he can make himself completely intangible, which means that he can fly through walls and completely evade attacks. Or on the other hand, he can increase his mass until he is as hard as a diamond and weighs 90 tons. He has access to unlimited information across the internet, and when he's completely in the zone, Vision is an unbelievable fighter. He's been able to take on the entire Avengers, and during the fight he was able to one-shot the young, crappy version of Nova, and female Thor. Vision can also unleash beams of energy that are both concussive and hot. A signature move of Vision's is that he likes to turn intangible, put his hand through an enemy, and make it dense again, basically exploding them from the inside. Unfortunately for him, to be able to deal the damage back, Vision has to come out of his intangibility. And as we know from past experiences, when Vision is vulnerable and gets hit by somebody of this strength, it does not end well. Barely not breaking the cusp of the top 5, we have Iron Man. Tony Stark is a man of unlimited resources and creativity. Of all the smartest intellects in Marvel, none of them can hold a candle up to his knowledge of weapons. Iron Man's suits have turned a normal human being into one of the heaviest hitters in the entire universe. Tony Stark's attention to detail covers basically every ground, seeing as he has a different suit for every scenario. Because in this business, when you tussle with a god, one thing goes wrong and you're dead. Recently, actually, Vision tried to do the old put the hand through the heart thing, and get this, Tony predicted this was going to happen and was able to literally hack Vision through his heart. I know it's weird, but that's the great thing about comics, you don't have to think too deeply into it. Tony is also known for, whenever they're fighting a specific character, he can counter that character by exploiting their weaknesses, building a suit around it, and then slapping the word Buster at the end of it. Most of the time this is decently successful. Tony's able to shoot many different types of energy beams over a long period of time, and has been documented to lift over 200 tons with his most recent suits. Iron Man does have some big drawbacks though. He's completely dependent on his armor. And unfortunately for him, if someone's able to withstand the beatings for long enough, two things could happen. One is Tony runs out of battery and have to leave the fight, though he never actually runs. Or the suit will get destroyed and they'll be holding on to Tony's tiny human self. And so that brings us to the top 5. Kicking off the top 5, we have the Hulk. Of course the Hulk would be the top 5. As you know, the more angry he gets, the more durable and powerful he becomes. His strength has no upper limit, and in theory the longer the fight goes on for, the more likely he is to win. One example of this is World War Hulk, which is one of the strongest incarnations ever of the Hulk. This took place when Bruce Banner was able to be Hulk for an extremely long period of time, for several years in fact. Seeing as during the event he was able to beat all of the X-Men at once, defeat Reed Richards, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and Black Bolt, whose scream is powerful enough to destroy a planet. And fortunately for the people that are above him, they are some of the rare people that can beat down the Hulk Thanos style and KO him before he reaches the point of no return. Coming in at number 4, we have the newcomer Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is entering the MCU in March 2019, and she's being hyped to be the most powerful MCU character that we have seen thus far. She is a half human, half Kree, and has one of the most well-rounded power sets of all time. Firstly, she's already insanely strong, being able to lift 75 tons, though she can absorb, manipulate, and redirect energy. Harnessing this can bring her power level to be well over 250 tons. She can fly at the same speed as Iron Man. She's even knocked out Ronan, weakened Thanos, and Valkyrie. She's even been able to send Sentry, who I consider to be one of at least the top 3 most powerful Marvel heroes, flying with one solid punch. And we spent a long time discussing how wicked fast Gamora is, but as you can see, Captain Marvel reacted to her lunge by grabbing her in under a fraction of a second. Captain Marvel is bulletproof and extremely durable. For a long time, Iron Man was considered to be her closest rival. This rivalry was shattered when Captain Marvel demolished Iron Man during their final fight in Civil War II. He was even wearing his Marvel Buster suit. And finally, I ranked her above the Hulk. She actually has a win over the Hulk, being able to speed blitz him and deal enough damage to knock him out. Captain Marvel is able to do something once she gains enough energy absorbed, known as going binary. As binary, her strength, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes are all doubled from her base form, and she also gets cosmic awareness. So to kick off the top 3, we have Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff probably has the single most broken power in all of Marvel. Using a force that she has dubbed to be chaos magic, she has the ability to warp reality at will. She can not only disintegrate opponents with a snap of a finger, but she can make them have never have existed at all. She can teleport, manipulate probability, and shoot power beams in addition. The issue is that she was never really able to control her reality warping. When constantly under the pressure of having a world-ending power, you begin to go off the deep end a little bit. Though Scarlet Witch loved Vision, it upset her so deeply that they could never have children that she willed a pocket dimension where she has children into existence. Later, she possessed Vision and made him crash a Quinjet into the Avengers mansion before spawning 5 Ultrons and a Kree armada to fight the Avengers. She was going so crazy that it made the Avengers and the X-Men, both of whom are close with Wanda, decide that they have to kill her because she's going to destroy the world. She also deletes Hawkeye from existence by accident and resurrects Quicksilver, who at the time was dead for about 5 minutes. Oh yeah, and not to mention the fact that she completely rewrites history and removes the powers from 95% of the world's mutant population. Granted, the feats above are from the House of M storyline, where she had no morals or sanity and her powers were slightly boosted. But that's not to say that she isn't always this powerful. For example, she one-shots Magic, who had a portion of the Phoenix Force within her. Yeah, no big deal, the Phoenix Force is only one of the most powerful cosmic entities in all of Marvel, and it's a thing that just casually made Jean Grey almost destroy the planet. She was also able to remove Namor, also with 1/5 of the Phoenix Force, from the battlefield. And with the help of Hope Summers, who was able to tap into Scarlet Witch's powers, they were able to wish away the Phoenix Force. She's also powerful enough to hold her own in a fight against Thor, dispelling his lightning and getting a few good attacks in. She has enough battle awareness to recognize the fact that she couldn't win against Thor, so she's able to slow time and blast him away from the battlefield. Wanda's biggest weaknesses are the fact that she is just mentally unstable and has a very strong lack of defense. It is physically exhausting for her to dish out this much energy. She often uses the offense is the best defense approach and doesn't really have that many ways of defending herself if someone can close the distance or catch her off guard. It is for these reasons that she is stuck at number 3 and cannot advance any farther. Number 2, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is one of the most powerful sorcerers in all of fiction. If we were discussing the classic version, he would have no trouble at all being number 1 on this list. Considering back then he could, freeze time and battle eternity. But we're discussing the modern Doctor Strange, and as you know, Doctor Strange is my favorite Marvel hero of all time. Doctor Strange is the master of all forms of magic, including black magic. The thing that's amazing about him is that he starts off as a regular human, overcoming adversity, and with unbelievable discipline, he has become one of the most powerful beings in the universe. Even as a novice, the Ancient One saw so much promise in him that he turned down training Damien Hellstrom, who's the mystical son of Satan, because he saw so much potential in Strange. Recently, Doctor Strange took on the entire Avengers, who were possessed by Brother Voodoo's ghost brother Daniel Drum, and without even the normal Sorcerer Supreme gear, he was able to hold his own. The fight consisted of Doctor Strange versus Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, Red Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Spider-Woman, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Thing, and Mockingbird. And the amazing thing is, during the entire fight, he didn't want to hurt any of his friends, so he was able to do the entire fight without hurting anybody. In the end, he didn't win the fight, but he was able to hold his own for an extremely long time until Captain Marvel speed blitzed him and was able to give him a nice whack. I do genuinely believe, however, Strange would have had a much harsher time if Daniel wasn't the one controlling them. For example, if all of them had their own state of mind, they would have utilized their powers in a much better way. For example, Daniel didn't even bother having Thor throw Mjolnir, which is probably the best offensive tool they had going for them. Regardless, Doctor Strange can kill a mortal with the twitch of a finger. Doctor Strange's immense list of powers consist of infinite longevity, which means he does not age, mystic bolts, astral projection, banishment, conjuring, transmutation, telepathy, protective force shields, hypnotism, telekinesis, the ability to make illusions of himself or objects, intangibility, elemental manipulation, teleportation, interdimensional travel, universal awareness, the words of the Black Priest, not to mention Doctor Strange is already the master of black magic, which he only uses in time of world-ending threats as it costs him the title of Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange's biggest weakness is the same as Wanda's: defense. Though he's able defending himself from blows way better than she is, that doesn't change the fact that he is in fact human. One unprotected shot from anybody in the top 10 while they're not holding back will most likely kill Strange, making it direly important that he's prepared for the fight. Doctor Strange is also limited to having to use his hands for spells. World War Hulk defeated him by breaking his hands. Being a regular human, there are many instances where sheer speed have simply overwhelmed him in chance encounters. On several occasions he has been shot and nearly died because he physically cannot react to something moving that fast. He has to be able to expect it and put up an energy shield. Which brings us to number 1. Thor. Out of the many days I spent working on this list, one entire day was basically dedicated to staring at my computer and trying to figure out whether I think Thor or Doctor Strange is more powerful. In theory, Doctor Strange has a wider array of powers, is a genius, and is a master of all forms of magic. During a fight, he could transmute Mjolnir into dust, he could banish Thor to another dimension, he could open a portal and send Mjolnir millions of light years away. He could potentially block blows from Thor's punches, and he can hit him with powerful mystic bolts. But the reason I could just not let myself put Strange at the top of this list is Mjolnir's speed. As I said, Doctor Strange is just a dude. Sometimes he's just unable to dodge a bullet. And a bullet is extremely fast, traveling at an average of around 1,700 miles per hour. Mjolnir can fly faster than the speed of light, and let me break down that math for you. Converting that to miles per second, that is only 0.47 miles per second. Mjolnir, on the other hand, can fly at over 186,000 miles per second, meaning that Mjolnir can fly at 372,000 times faster than a bullet. Mjolnir has even been able to keep pace with the Silver Surfer, who is the fastest being in the Marvel Universe. Even if Doctor Strange starts the fight miles away from Thor, it is just physically impossible for him to move fast enough to cast any spells, or move out of the way of Mjolnir moving at light speed. It's just impossible. The only way that Strange can actually beat him is if he gets the first move, and the whole point of this list means that it has to be a fair fight. Or if Thor misses, which is also extremely unlikely, and even if he does, he's just gonna pull it right back and hit Doctor Strange in the back of the head. Even in some completely abnormal case, and Doctor Strange is able to transmute Mjolnir into something else, and that's assuming Mjolnir isn't resistant to transmutation, which it most likely is, then he's still in trouble because Thor's lightning and all that stuff doesn't come from Mjolnir, he's just able to channel it through the hammer. And if Doctor Strange removes all the Asgardian magic from Thor using black magic, then Thor is still at Hercules level strength. He's ridiculously durable, and he's able to sustain full energy in battle for over 24 hours. I just can't see Strange winning this even 3 times out of 10. And that is coming from, as you know, a huge Doctor Strange fan. Thor is by far the deadliest Marvel character when it comes to straight old-fashioned brute force and melee combat. His max strength has never been recorded, and some of his strength feats of recent years, not even the classic era, is that he's been able to literally catch Asgard as it fell to the ground and then throw it back in the air. He also is able to hold together a collapsing moon with his bare hands and use the transmutation of Mjolnir to be able to seal the gap. And during the Fear Itself event, he defeated an evil Asgardian enhanced version of the Hulk and the Thing. His hits are so powerful that it shakes cities around him. He's also able to channel lightning, which is more powerful than any bolt of lightning that Storm could produce. And there you have it. I have worked on this list and all the facts all week, so if you still disagree with me, that is perfectly fine. Go ahead and put your opinion in the comments. I love discussing these things, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. I put a lot of work into it, so I hope you could at least appreciate that, even if you disagree with me. So anyway, if you want to stay tuned for more videos just like this where we go over DC, Marvel, and just movies in general, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.